So, no, I wouldn't say I have a passion for HR.
Welcome back to Human Resources for the People. It's a human capital revolution. Today, we've got a few questions from Ask HR on Reddit. We've got a question about vacation in Texas, a Michigan person asking a question about HR proceeding on a case, and a request for a new manager out of Maine. So let's get started in Texas. Am I obligated to get paid for my unused vacation? This person works in Texas, which is actually very important for the purposes of this discussion. And they accrue vacation every pay period. They've got quite a bit of vacation and they're planning to resign soon. And the question is, if I leave, am I obligated to get paid for my accrued but unused vacation? Are there laws in Texas that mandate that? No, there are not. Texas is one of those states that do not require it, and there's quite a few. Frankly, it's sort of a mixed bag. In some states, it's up to whether or not the employer writes it in their policy book, whether or not they'll pay it out. And then in other states, it's required. It's a complete mixed bag. But in Texas specifically, there are no requirements. Now, frankly, I've never worked for an employer who didn't, and I've worked for some bad employers over my time, so I don't, whether or not there's a law or not a law, it's really irrelevant. For the most part, employers pay it out, but instead of asking for specific laws, you should be checking your policy handbook and seeing what they do, if one exists. The next one up is kind of a long one, but I'll summarize it. And the question is from Michigan. It says, "Can HR proceed on a case that was filed on my behalf but without my compliance?" So she has a skip level manager who has developed feelings. He's going through a tough time in his life, and is being messy. So this person is 2 levels above them. Hasn't said that he has feelings, but everyone can see it, and she sees it too. And she told someone who went around and told HR. And so at this point, the question is, if I'm non-compliant, is it possible that they will drop the case until I feel the need that his requires HR intervention? And the answer is no, not really. I mean, in this scenario, it's pretty serious. And if it's very clear to everyone else that he's, flirting with you and things of that nature, HR has every responsibility to begin that process. And once they're made aware, they should, continue and make sure that they understand what's going on. However, if you're, quote, non-compliant, there's not a whole lot HR can do. I probably wouldn't be. I think that that's a bad move. I think that will cause a lot more problems, and consider, at least in HR's eyes, for you to be not a person that is part of the team. I understand the idea of sort of navigating personal relationships with people. However, this could be very serious, and HR has every responsibility to take action. However, if you do go non-compliant, and just respond to nothing. Frankly, honestly, HR may not even do anything. They may send them to a vague training about sexual harassment just for the sake of covering it. But if you're not actually giving them any information about the specific incidences, and if it's entirely hearsay, then yeah, it's absolutely. I mean, HR can't do a whole lot. That said, I mean, I would go to HR in this scenario, because that's the way it needs to go. And the next one up is very interesting. It says, "How can I request a new manager in a corporate environment?" They work in customer service remotely. And the question is, will there be a requirement of evidence to prove she is a bad manager? Do I have to bring up my mental illnesses that are diagnosed and explain she's inflaming them by micromanaging? And so, I get the impression this person has never worked in the workforce, and frankly, the remote work and the graduating workforces out of college are not quite prepared for a corporate environment. Regardless, I know the HR is not going to ask you to prove that she's a bad manager, and frankly, that's none of HR's business. Whether or not a person is a bad manager or a good manager, that is that manager's business. So if that is something that you want to do, is to go up the chain and explain how that's impacting you, go for it. I don't think that will work out very well either. And I don't think that it'll be very successful. But the second part is actually a little bit interesting. It says, do I have to bring up my mental illnesses that are diagnosed and explain she is inflaming them by micromanaging? Well, if if by inflaming them it means that you're unable to appropriately do your work and be successful at your work, then you may seek ADA accommodation. But I would go. There's a website called Ask Jan. Take a look, askjan.org, and they can help you navigate the disability accommodations that might be required. But it won't result in you getting a new manager. Now, it may result in managers taking on different behavior in order to improve your situation. But I frankly don't believe that that will be very successful either. Um, and so I would attempt to navigate the manager as best as I could in the circumstances given. And then, but if you really needed the help and if you really felt like you were suffering from a mental illness, you would probably go through the accommodation process and bring that to your company's attention. I just don't think it'll be very successful. Let me know what you think in the comments down below. I love doing this series. I'm on like number 40 or 50. Like, share, and subscribe, and we'll see you on the next video. Bye, guys.